What you are about to hear is not the story of an execution. It is the story of what came before it. For 76 days, Marie Antoinette was not merely imprisoned. She was dismantled, deliberately, systematically, by a revolutionary state that had learned something chilling about human endurance. Pain can be resisted, hunger can be endured, even humiliation can be survived. But love, when turned against someone, can destroy them completely. And that destruction began with a child. Forget the guillotine. The blade was swift, almost merciful. What preceded it was slower, colder, and infinitely more cruel. Her captors identified the one vulnerability she still possessed and exploited it with surgical precision. This is the story of Prisoner 280, and this is how they tried to erase her humanity. It is the night of July 3rd, 1793. The Temple prison in Paris stands silent beneath the summer sky, its medieval stone walls holding centuries of fear. Inside the tower, corridors are dark and damp, lit only by flickering torches. Boots echo on the stairs, heavy, measured, intentional. Marie Antoinette is asleep beside her 8-year-old son, Louis Charles. Since the execution of his father 6 months earlier, she has refused to let the boy sleep alone. Her hand rests on his chest, rising and falling, as if she can will him to remain alive through touch alone. The door bursts open. 6 municipal guards enter the room, filling it with torchlight and authority. One carries a document bearing the seal of the Committee of Public Safety. The order is brief. The child is to be removed. What follows does not last seconds or minutes, it lasts an hour. Witnesses later described how Marie Antoinette transformed. The former queen vanished. In her place stood a mother in absolute terror. She threw herself between the guards and her son. She screamed until her voice failed. She begged. She threatened. She clung to the child with such force that he woke, crying in confusion and fear. She offered herself in his place. None of it mattered. Because this moment was not improvised, it was engineered. The revolutionaries had already discovered that she could endure deprivation, illness, constant surveillance. None of it broke her, but her children did. And so they chose to weaponize them. To understand the depth of this cruelty, you must first understand who Marie Antoinette truly was. She was born Maria Antonia in Vienna in 1755, the youngest daughter of Empress Maria Theresa of Austria. At 14, she was sent to France and married to the future Louis XVI. It was not a romance. It was a diplomatic transaction. She was a living treaty. From the moment she arrived, the French court resented her. She was foreign. She spoke imperfect French. She misunderstood customs that had taken generations to solidify. Even her marriage became a public humiliation, unconsummated for 7 years and whispered about across Europe. Lonely and isolated, she retreated into distraction, fashion, music, private entertainments at the Petit Trianon. To a nation collapsing under debt and hunger, these indulgences were unforgivable. She became a symbol, Madame Deficit, whether she deserved it or not. The phrase, "let them eat cake," was never spoken by her. But truth had become irrelevant. By the time revolution erupted in 1789, Marie Antoinette had been transformed into an enemy of the people, a foreign woman, a queen, a convenient embodiment of everything France hated. Yet the woman imprisoned in 1793 was no longer the caricature. She was a grieving mother, one child already dead of illness, a husband publicly executed, months of captivity with her remaining children, listening to crowds outside call for her blood. She had already lost her crown, her freedom, her country, and her family. The revolutionaries decided she could still lose more. The Temple prison was designed to destroy hope long before anyone reached the guillotine. Once a fortress of the Knights Templar, it was cold, damp, and oppressive. After Louis XVI's execution, Marie Antoinette was confined there with her daughter Marie-Thérèse and her son Louis Charles. At first they were kept together. She attempted to preserve routine, lessons, prayers, quiet moments of affection. At night she held her children as mobs shouted outside. But nothing in the temple went unobserved. Guards were stationed inside their quarters. Conversations were recorded. Even language was controlled. The children were forbidden to speak German, their mother's native tongue, ensuring that no moment of intimacy escaped state surveillance. Privacy disappeared. Dignity followed. Marie Antoinette's health deteriorated rapidly. Her hair began to turn white from stress. She stopped eating. She suffered internal bleeding she tried desperately to conceal. Still, she endured until July 3rd. That night, the order was enforced. For 60 minutes, she fought the guards. Only when her daughter and sister-in-law begged her to stop, terrified the guards would use violence, did her resistance collapse. She kissed her son one final time, whispered words no one recorded. Then she watched as 6 men dragged her 8-year-old child down the stairs, his screams echoing through the tower until they vanished. She collapsed on the floor and did not rise for hours. The boy was delivered to Antoine Simon, a radical chosen not to educate him, but to destroy him. Locked in isolation, beaten, starved, forced to wear revolutionary symbols and denounce his own mother. When he resisted, the punishment intensified. Within weeks, his spirit was broken, and his coerced testimony would soon be used against her. On August 1st, 1793, Marie Antoinette was removed from the temple in the dead of night. No explanation, no farewell. She was separated from her daughter forever. She was taken to the conciergerie, the antechamber of death. There she became prisoner 280. Her cell was small, windowless, and damp. 2 guards were stationed inside at all times. Even a folding privacy screen was a mockery. She was watched while she dressed, while she prayed, while she bled through her clothes from untreated illness. This was not security, it was humiliation as policy. At night, guards reported hearing her whisper one name repeatedly, Louis Charles. Her trial began on October 14th. It was not a search for truth, it was performance. The verdict had already been decided. She defended herself calmly against accusations of treason and conspiracy. She admitted mistakes without pleading. Then the final charge was introduced, incest, allegedly confessed by her son under revolutionary re-education. For the first time, she broke. She rose and addressed not the judges but the women in the room. "I appeal to all mothers," she said. "Is there one among you who would not shudder at such a charge?" Even the crowd recoiled. It did not matter. She was condemned before dawn on October 16th, 1793. In her final hours, she was given pen and paper. She wrote not of politics, but of forgiveness, love for her children, a plea that her son never seek revenge. The letter was never delivered. At midday, she was taken to the guillotine in an open cart, exposed to the crowd. She climbed the scaffold without assistance. In her final moment, she apologized to the executioner for stepping on his foot. 20 seconds later, the blade fell. The revolution sought to destroy a symbol. Instead, it revealed a human being. That is what survived the 76 days.